Can you imagine a city where people live in cage houses, sell counterfeit fruits, and parents are already registering their unborn baby into academic classes? This is the dark side of Hong Kong. Hong Kong's territory has been a topic of dispute for centuries. In the beginning, the area came under Chinese rule in the Qin Dynasty during the 3rd century, but the British Empire gained control to 3 major regions of Hong Kong between 1842 and 1898: Hong Kong Island, Kowloon Peninsula, and the New Territories. The rules were set in the Second Convention of Peking in China, where the British Empire will be leasing the Hong Kong area for 99 years. British rule was slightly disrupted by the Second World War when the Japanese took over, but it was handed back to the British Empire once the war was over. Dozens of countries in Asia, Africa, and the Americas managed to win independence from European control after World War II, but Britain continued to rule until its lease expired in 1997. The UK and China signed an agreement in 1984 to outline their plans for Hong Kong. Hong Kong will remain under British rule until 1997, and it will become a part of China for the next 50 years after that until 2047. Many in Hong Kong have critiqued this decision, as the territory was not involved in the discussion. In terms of the economy, Hong Kong is part of a highly developed economies by the UN definition. Hong Kong has a GDP value of $359.84 billion and a GDP per capita value of $49,984 in 2022, putting them as the 43rd major economy of the world. If you think your studio apartment is small, you should see the living conditions of Hong Kong's most marginalized population. Hong Kong coffin homes are subdivided apartments that could barely fit an adult. The width is around 60 centimeters and the length is only 170 centimeters, with enough height to allow you to sit. The place is also known as a cage home, as it's surrounded by chicken wire fencing to give residents a sense of privacy. Most of the people who live in these small coffin homes are retirees, working poor, and convicted criminals who were forced into them due to the rising prices of Hong Kong's real estate. It started in the 1950s as employer-provided housing for new migrants who just came from China, but now almost 200,000 people are still living in these units. The price of these coffin homes is around $230 to $320 per month. Hong Kong is the most expensive housing market in the world, where an average person needs to save over 18 years of their pre-tax salary to afford a home. Nearly 1 in 7 Hong Kongers live in poverty and resort to renting coffin homes. The government does have a public housing program that provides affordable units to residents, but the waitlist is growing with over 100,000 families vying for a spot. In the meantime, these people are stuck living in subdivided apartments that barely allow them to move. If you stroll around Hong Kong, you might notice that every Sunday you'll see rows of cardboard boxes on bridges and streets where lots of people are congregating. It turns out they're not homeless people, they're foreign domestic workers that work in Hong Kong households. These workers have a 6-day working week, making Sunday their only day off. They stay in cardboard boxes to get away from their place of work and take a break. You can see them talking, eating together, dancing, or even singing karaoke inside these boxes. They usually group themselves based on their country of origin, such as Statue Square for Filipino workers and Victoria Park for Indonesians. Hong Kong is home to unique Chinese white dolphins. These cute mammals were the mascot of the city's handover from British to Chinese rule. Sadly, their population has declined by 80% in the past 2 decades according to the Agricultural, Fisheries and Conservation Department in Hong Kong. The dolphins are part of the Pearl River Delta population with around 2,000 left, which classified them as vulnerable in the IUCN Red List. There are many man-made threats surrounding the dolphin population, such as habitat loss, illegal fishing, noise disturbance, toxins, and pollutants. Some dolphins were found drowning after being caught by fishing nets. Fortunately, activists are proposing a huge marine park that would connect Shao Chao and Lung Kwa Chao Marine Park with Brothers Marine Park to protect the dolphin population, although it's still in the proposal stages. Hopefully, the government will approve the project before the dolphin population vanishes entirely. Dolphins are not the only ones suffering in Hong Kong. Their residents are also facing a serious air population issue. Their average PM2.5 concentration is 33.5 micrograms per cubic meter, over 3 times the WHO standard. The population is so bad that for 30% of the year, the visibility is less than 8 kilometers. Hong Kongers have also complained due to the rising cases of bronchial infections and asthma. The government also estimated that 1,600 deaths since the year 2000 can be avoided if the air quality is improved. There are several causes for this condition. The first is local sources, mainly vehicles on city streets. On average, Hong Kong has over 275 vehicles per kilometer, which is the highest density of vehicles in the world. There are also emissions from China's manufacturing industries in the Pearl Delta River that are carried over to Hong Kong by wind. The biggest polluters are HK Electric Holdings and China Light and Power, which emit over 75,000 tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. Hong Kong's Environmental Protection Department has tried to solve this issue to create better air quality for the city. There's also a non-profit organization called Clean the Air that proposed phasing out older diesel-fueled vehicles. So far, over 76,000 of 80,000 government-operated vehicles have been taken out of service. This city has also imposed regulations on cars. People are now required to turn off their engines when stopping at junctions, and taxi drivers are also told to turn off their cars when waiting for customers. The regulations stated that idling will result in a $40 US fine. Even smokers are being affected by air pollution regulations. The local governments increased the tax of tobacco retailers to discourage smoking. Air pollution is not the only threat to Hong Kongers' lives. They're also known to overwork themselves to death. Hong Kong is now considered the world's most overworked city, with 30% of workers putting in more than 48 hours per week and 11% putting in more than 69 hours per week. Hong Kong is also a place with the most stressed employees in East Asia, with 50% stating they feel pressure at work. Another alarming fact is the majority of Hong Kongers are experiencing burnout, with most workers saying they feel tired and helpless with their work situation. This led to the Great Resignation in Hong Kong in 2022, with over 37% of employees leaving their job for another. Hong Kong workers only receive 17 days of holidays, while the rest of the world averages 23 days per year. Overworking in Hong Kong triggers various occupational diseases, including sudden deaths from exhaustion. One such case is of a captain on Hong Kong's historic Star Ferry. The captain, who was in his 40s, collapsed on board a ferry and was pronounced dead after he was taken to the hospital. It was found that he worked 23 days straight without breaks. The incident happened during the Chinese Labor Day period when plenty of mainland Chinese tourists visited Hong Kong. The issue is there's just not enough workers to cover the load. Hong Kong has a very harsh school system. The competition is so stiff, Hong Kong parents usually start registering their children in classes before they're born. It's normal for pre-kindergarten students to be coached by a professional for school interviews, and your kids need to have a portfolio of various courses and classes they already attended to be accepted into primary school. According to Hong Kong Playground Association, a third of their students are suffering from anxiety or depression due to their school's learning environment. Students are so tired that their teachers sometimes let students sleep in their classes. Lengthy hours and the hyper-focused view on grade-based education has driven some of these students to commit suicide. According to Hong Kong's Social Welfare Department, there were 54 cases of student suicides in 2022. In Hong Kong, students are studying just as much, if not more, than full-time employees' work hours. The average weekly study hours for kindergarten, primary, and secondary school students were about 49.1, 66.5, and 76.5 hours respectively. Let's hope the Hong Kong government figures out how to create a competitive environment without unnecessary stress. Another issue that still plagues Hong Kong is the counterfeit industry. It is said that Hong Kong is responsible for 86% of the world's counterfeit goods, mainly because it's so close to China. The law in Hong Kong states that importing or exporting phony goods will result in a fine up to 500,000 Hong Kong or $64,000 US. But that doesn't deter people from getting into the lucrative business. One interesting case is the counterfeit sun-kissed oranges in 2014. Oranges from North Africa were labeled as American sun-kissed oranges to gain a higher price. 2 stall owners and 3 staff were arrested, with over 5,200 oranges and 112,000 labels taken into custody by police. There's also a case of counterfeit smartphones. Hong Kong customs officers seized over 3,000 counterfeit goods and 100 used smartphones labeled as new and worth over 1.5 million Hong Kong dollars. 17 business owners and staff were arrested. The most well-known case of counterfeit goods is probably fake designer bags. Raids all over Hong Kong's markets in 2016 managed to obtain over 5 million Hong Kong dollars worth of bags, purses, and wallets. As one of the most developed economies in the world, Hong Kong is full of intriguing issues, from its dispute with China to its counterfeit markets. Nevertheless, let's hope that Hong Kong will overcome its dark side before it's too late.